NFL Live. We have so much to discuss. The Commanders have been very busy making moves to help their fabulous young franchise quarterback, Jayden Daniels. But have they done enough overall? And where will this guy, Shedeur Sanders, land in this year's draft? Several quarterback-needy teams near the top of the board. Could it be the Browns? Maybe the Giants? What about the Packers' young and versatile wide receiving core? But do they still need to add a game-changing number one to give Jordan Love a go-to guy? We have the experts to answer all of these questions and more. I'm Hannah Storm alongside Mina Kimes, Bill Barnwell, and Damian Woody. So let's get right to it. Stefon Diggs is where we start. One of the most accomplished receivers in the free agent market, but coming off a season-ending injury. Now, he spent quality time with the Patriots, his first known off-season visit. He had some dinner with staffers last night, meetings, and a physical today. So the Patriots haven't had a 1,000-yard receiver in the last 5 seasons. They're the only team without one. New England's last 1,000-yard wide receiver was Julian Edelman in 2019. That was Tom Brady's final season with the team. But what about Stefon Diggs? 6 straight 1,000-yard seasons from 2018 to 2023. All right, Mina, let's start with you. How do you like Diggs as a fit in New England?
I think it makes a lot of sense, Hannah, and they should be interested. Obviously, Stefon Diggs is coming off of the ACL injury and is getting up in the years somewhat. But last year, before he got hurt, he was incredibly productive for the Houston Texans. In fact, through that Week 8 injury, he ranked 4th amongst all receivers in catches under 20 yards. He was actually 3rd in ESPN's receiver score. In him, you know you're getting a crafty and experienced route runner with reliable hands, somebody who Drake May could target, again, particularly in the short and intermediate parts of the field. Now, it doesn't mean they're done at receiver. You still need speed. You still need a big-bodied perimeter threat. But as far as bringing in a veteran to what is currently constituted a pretty underwhelming group, I would not dislike it for New England, especially because I don't think it would cost them very much.
Yeah, listen, I agree. Listen, we all know about the injury and obviously being on the wrong side of 30. But the one thing that Stefon Diggs would bring as a veteran presence, a chain mover, kind of like him to like Keenan Allen, a guy that a young quarterback and Drake May can look to in critical situations. And by no means are you going to stop with the Stefon Diggs if you bring it on board, because I still think they need an explosive element on the outside. But they need to add a veteran presence to I think, calm down a young quarterback, where a guy that, you know what, on 3rd and 5, I can look to Stefon Diggs to move the chains and continue to drive.
Yeah, the good news is they have their quarterback, and they also have another option at wide receiver. This is according to Mel Kiper Jr.'s latest mock draft, and that would be Travis Hunter. The Patriots have the 4th overall pick. The question remains, which side of the ball will he play the most? Is it going to be a receiver or a DB? Bill, if they take Hunter, where do you see them playing him the most?
Yeah, I really think he could be a guy who plays on both spots, but cornerback is going to be the place where I think he can make the biggest difference and give the Patriots a defensive identity. Last year, their best player was Christian Gonzalez, who was an all-pro pick for me, a super underrated player, allowed a 71.7 passer rating in coverage while playing in one of the most man-to-man heavy schemes in all of football. He had the sort of most difficult workload of any quarterback in the league and did a really good job against it. Now you bring in Hunter, and that cornerback duo is suddenly allowing you to do anything you want on the defensive side of the football. You want to blitz a ton and play man-to-man behind it? You have 2 great corners who can do that. You want to play cover 3 and have your 2 cornerbacks outside patrolling either sideline? You have guys who can do that. He allows them to do whatever they want on defense. And then on top of that, you can start working him on a wide receiver. There's going to be opportunities there. Maybe it's 10 snaps a game. Maybe it's 20 snaps a game. Maybe it's only 3 or 4 snaps a game. But you're getting something out of him as a wide receiver, adding to the value at cornerback.
I am so torn on this, Bill, because I have said that I think Travis Hunter could be one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL. And I also don't like the idea of his position being determined solely by need. However, if the Patriots were to take him, not only do they already have 2 good cornerbacks in Christian Gonzalez and Carlton Davis, who they signed this year, he would so obviously, in my opinion, be the best receiver on the roster it would be really, really hard for them not to play him at receiver. I mean, you can just imagine him practicing with the cornerbacks while Drake May in the offense stares longingly at him, praying for a receiver like him. It might be one of the few teams, candidly, where he actually might get more play both ways. But I have to say, if he were to go to New England, I would have a slight tilt towards receiver just because of the importance of not wasting or setting back young Drake May, their quarterback.
Yeah, this would be the perfect player for Mike Vrabel, a guy who played both ways, when he was a player in the National Football League. And, for a guy like Travis Hunter, I think they really need him on the offensive side. The explosive element that the Patriots have been lacking for so long, he would bring that added element. And listen, I do think on the defensive side, he's more accomplished. He's better on that side. His instincts are outstanding. But listen, playing him on the offensive side with the lack of weapons that New England has, I'm pretty sure Drake May would love to have that type of athlete on that side of the ball.
This is a pretty good problem to have, isn't it, you guys? He's just too good at too many things. Truly. All right, let's go on to the Bay. The 49ers have lost a lot of talent in free agency, and they haven't really been able to replace it. They signed just one player for $10 million or more. That was tight end Luke Farrell, agreeing to a 3-year, $20 million deal. Now, the 8 guys that the Niners lost that you see right here, they signed free agent deals worth a total of $291 million. Obviously, this does not include Deebo Samuel. They traded him to the Niners, and Kyle Juszczyk, you see him there. Well, he was released, and then he was almost immediately re-signed with the team. Here's John Lynch on the Niners' plan to rebuild the roster, and I quote, "We've got this thing called the draft, and we've got a lot of picks, and I think the thing that the fans should know is we have a plan, and we're going to execute that plan, and we're excited about the opportunity. Last year, we had such a good roster. I think we doubled down and said, let's go for this thing. And we kind of pushed all the chips in, knowing that at some point, you're going to have that reset. And this was the year." And of course, we know the Niners still have not reached a contract extension with Brock Purdy, although we know that's on the way. Their plan is to grow from the draft, Bill. What should their priority be?
Well, John Lynch had to remind the fans that what picks are, because they didn't have very many of them over the last few years with all those trades they made for Christian McCaffrey, Trey Lance. They sent 8 picks out, including 3 first-rounders, one of which, by the way, became Micah Parsons, who'd be a pretty good fit on this 49ers team. The thing they have to address, this is not where Micah Parsons plays, the defensive line. And that does seem crazy because you have Nick Bosa, who's a superstar, but think about all the talent they've lost on the defensive line over the last 2 years. On the edge, they trade for Chase Young, don't bring him back. They sign Leonard Floyd and then cut him after a season. They cut Arik Armstead. On the interior, they lose Javon Kinlaw at defensive tackle. They just cut Javon Hargrave. Malik Collins are 2 defensive tackles. They need to add pieces around Bosa.
Bill, my brother, we are thinking the exact same thing. The defensive line. Who is their defensive coordinator now? Robert Saleh. That system thrives on the defensive line and getting after the quarterback. And so when you look at, since Robert Saleh was gone when he left, there was kind of a drain on the San Francisco 49ers defense. They need to start replenishing that defensive line, because that is the staple of a Robert Saleh defense, is the defensive front dictating the terms. That's where they should head, early in the draft.
Yeah, don't disagree with you guys at all about the defense. I'm going to go to the other side on the trenches. Trenches really should be the theme of the draft for the 49ers, because the offensive line also is in need of replenishment. Trent Williams, still one of the best left tackles in the NFL, getting up in the years, obviously had some injuries last year. They hit on their 3rd-round draft pick last year, the guard Dominic Cooney, who was excellent. But outside of that, really, I could see them drafting a tackle, center, or a guard. And honestly, they should just take the best player available on that for that offensive line. But there has to be a priority for this team, especially with young Brock Purdy most likely getting a big contract soon. He needs protection.
And here's the thing. They have 11 picks. They're tied with the Ravens for the most in the NFL, and they have 4 in the top 100. All right, meanwhile, the team that finished atop the NFC, the Lions, they proposed a change to the playoff structure. While division winners would still get an automatic spot in the playoffs, they would no longer be guaranteed a top 4 seed and a home game. Instead, overall records would decide that seeding. So let's take a look at how that actually would have played out in the NFC last year. As you can see, the Bucs and the Rams, they would have dropped from the 3 and the 4 all the way to the 6 and the 7. And then the 14-3 Vikings, they would move up to the 3 seed. The Commanders would have been the 4. The Vikings, the reason they're behind the Eagles is because that first tiebreaker is for division champs. So in order to jump a division winner, a team would need to have a better outright record. Got all that? Okay. T. Woody, are you a fan of this new proposal?
You know what, Hannah? I hate to sound like the old man, get off my lawn type deal, but I am still in the mindset of win your division. Like, I don't want to lessen winning. Like, when you win your division, you've earned a home playoff game. I think I would never get off of that. I think that is super important. When coaches have that, when we gather as a team, the first thing coaches always talk about, win your division. Let's get a home playoff game, get in the tournament, and let the chips fall where they may. So I get it, but I guess I'm a traditionalist in that manner.
Yeah, whenever there's a rule change, I always kind of think, my first reaction is, okay, why did this particular team propose this rule change? It's interesting, right? Because the Lions wouldn't have been the beneficiary of this. The Vikings would have. However, the Lions play in a very good division, and I wonder if they think that division, the NFC North, is going to be good for the next few years at least, and that factored into this. I am in agreement with Damien. I don't think it's something the NFL will go for, in part because that impetus, the need to win the division, is what makes division rivalries great. It's why that final game between the Lions and the Vikings was so exciting when that was at stake. And that's not even one of the better, more angrier rivalries in the NFL. So I just feel like rivalries in divisions matter too much to this league for them to make this kind of change.
Mm-hmm. I do like it on paper. I want to reward teams who play well during the regular season, but we have had those games in the past where we've had the supposedly overmatched division winner against that great wildcard team, and the team at home won. Go back last year, Rams and Vikings, right? The Vikings were favorites heading into Los Angeles, and not only did the Rams beat them, but they blew them out badly. And go back to, I know, one of Mina's favorite games of all time. Go back to the Seahawks when they were 7-9. They're hosting the division champs, or the defending champs, the New Orleans Saints in Seattle. The Beastquake happens. The Seahawks, who were 7-9, dropped 41 on the New Orleans Saints at home and win that game. So let's reward those division winners by letting them keep their home playoff games.
Got a big smile from Mina. You know what? You just know how to make her day right there.
Come on.
Home field advantage is a big deal. 21-9 home field since the playoffs expanded. We're just getting started. Lineman Damien Woody, right? Throw the ball a little quicker. Let's go to Kansas City. To Damien's point, what am I saying? The Chiefs had to shuffle their line. Joe Thuney, 5 starts at left tackle. They got beaten in the trenches by Philly, as we all saw in the Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes sacked 6 times in Super Bowl 59. Most he's been sacked in any game in his career. But the only changes they've really made so far are, obviously, they traded away Thuney, and they signed Jalen Moore to play tackle. He's made 10 starts there at tackle in his career. Left tackle last year, weeks 12 through 16. Chiefs' top priority was getting Mahomes some protection. So, D. Woody, do you have any concerns that they haven't made more moves?
Absolutely. And listen, there's still a lot of offseason left. We still got the draft, and you never know what pieces that you're going to add, throughout the rest of the offseason. But you're betting on upside with Jalen Moore right now. That's what the Chiefs are betting on. With the young man coming from the 49ers. But I look at the Kansas City Chiefs. 3 out of the 5 positions on that offensive line are big question marks. So I don't know if the Kansas City Chiefs have solved their issues on the offensive line. There's a lot of work that still needs to be done with that unit.
Yeah, I agree. I do understand some of the Chiefs' thinking in the moves that they made. Essentially, they chose Trey Smith, paying him over, that cap space, also going to Joe Thuney. They wanted the draft pick, and they also clearly had belief in Kingsley Suamataya's ability to play guard, which he did the final game of the season. I also think, Ronnie Stanley returning to Baltimore, weren't that many tackle options. Clearly, they saw something in Jalen Moore in his brief time in San Francisco, backing up Trent Williams when he started, that they liked. That's all fine. They still need to keep throwing resources at the problem with those draft picks. Keep drafting, particularly at the tackle position, because as we have seen now, Patrick Mahomes only loses Super Bowls when he does not have sufficient pass protection.
There you go. He was sacked 47 times last season, by the way, 10 more than any other season in his career. All right, now we're going to go back in the trenches with the Texans. They had so many issues on the offensive line last season. Caleb Williams was the only player who sacked more times than C.J. Stroud, and Houston completely reshaped it. All 5 positions expected to be started by different players than they had in Week 1 last season. Laramie Tunsil, Kenyon Green, Shaq Mason, all moving on. I know, D. Woody, a lot of people found that Tunsil move surprising. In fact, some people who were on this show today. But what's your assessment of what they've done overall with that O-line?
I mean, clearly, I think between coaching and personnel, they figured, we need to start anew on the offensive line. I also think the offensive coordinator played a role in why they made these changes as well. But when you look at the Laramie Tunsil move, everyone is caught up on, how many Pro Bowls and All Pros. This dude was a much penalized guy at the left tackle position. So, and he tends to want to get paid all the time. But Houston needs a lot of work on the offensive line. There's no question about it. You got to be able to keep C.J. Stroud upright. Took way too many hits. And where they sit right now, this is definitely not a finished product for the Houston Texans up front.
Yeah, I guess if they figured we're not going to be great on the offensive line, better to be cheap than be expensive and stink on the offensive line. I mean, certainly they've cut some salary here, but there's a lot of work that still has to be done. And I think you mentioned the offensive coordinator, Nick Caley, is going to play a big role here, the new OC in Houston, that they're going to change their scheme, more motion, more gap runs as opposed to some of the zone runs. A lot of the stuff we saw in Los Angeles with the Rams, that stuff maybe going to make life easier for the offensive linemen, be a little more aggressive, more attacking, just hit guys more, not be in so many passive situations. I think that's a way maybe to help the line play better, even if there's not necessarily great names on paper in Houston.
C.J. Stroud was under pressure on 36% of his dropbacks. That was 33rd of 36 quarterbacks. I know, it's so painful. Seriously. All right, still to come, led the team in sacks with 7.5, almost twice as many as the next closest Lions player. And in Mel Kiper Jr.'s latest mock draft, he has Detroit taking outside linebacker James Pierce Jr. So, Mina, is this the right move for the Lions?
I think going edge is the right move for the Detroit Lions, one of the very few needs they have on their roster. I have a couple of players I like a little bit more, 2 of whom you're seeing here, Michael Williams, Shamar Stewart. I don't know if they'll be available when the Lions are picking. Of course, that comes with a caveat. Shamar Stewart is one that I would single out as I think being a particularly good fit. Incredible athlete, incredible get-off, traits out the universe, but didn't have the sack production. So I like him in Detroit opposite Aiden Hutchinson, where he can develop as a pass rusher opposite player who's very, very good at it.
Yeah, to help compensate for the loss of him, they did blitz at the second highest rate in the NFL. All right, let's go to Dallas now, where the run game has been trending downwards. The Cowboys struggled to run the ball in 2024. They ranked outside the top 25 in yards per rush, yards per game, first down percentage, and explosive run rate, pretty much everything. They averaged just 4 yards a carry last year, the team's lowest since the 2012 season. And Mel Kiper Jr. has them taking running back Amari Hampton in round 1. D. Woody, do you like it? Is this the right move?
I do. I know some people have a problem picking a running back in the first round. I actually think it's a great time to pick a running back. And I think Amari Hampton is he's one of those, he's like a 1B back in this draft. Big, explosive tone setter. And when you think about the Dallas Cowboys, when the Dallas Cowboys were humming and good, it was the offensive line as a running game. And so I think they need to get back to that if they want to get to where they want to go.
Yep, last time they took a running back in the first round was Zeke Elliott, 4th overall in 2016. All right, Green Bay, maybe they're trending towards getting some help at wide out. Their wide receivers dropped 25 passes last year, tied with the 2023 Chiefs for the most by any team in the last decade. In response to that, of course, as you'll remember, the Chiefs traded up. They got Xavier Worthy in the 2024 draft. Kind of seems like a strategy the Packers running back Josh Jacobs could get behind.
That, and then obviously we got a really young group of receivers. all can be really, really, really special. But I think personally, we need a guy that's proven to be a number one already. So somebody that's we know it's gonna be a little bit more consistent.
That maybe played here before.
If he come at the right price. He come at the right price. Tell him to slide. You know, I've had to talk to Tate.
Well, wide receiver help could be on the way, and a rookie deal. According to Mel Kiper Jr., he has them taking Ohio State wideout Emeka Egbuka in round 1. Bill, do you think that's a right fit for Green Bay?
I don't like disagreeing with the legend Mel Kiper, but the guy he has one pick before is the one I like more for the Packers. That's Matthew Golden, the Texas wide receiver. And it's just, I think Egbuka's a great player, but Golden has a rare level of speed that I think the Packers need. He ran a 4.29 at the combine. That's a team that they run more on early downs than anybody else in football. So you got those safeties creeping into the box. You have people very aware of Josh Jacobs and that run game. What you need is then a player to go over the top, off a play action, scare those safeties into staying out of the box. That's what you get with Matthew Golden. A complete player, not just a gimmick guy who's going to go deep, but definitely a threat downfield with that 4.29 speed.
Yeah, but Mina, they haven't drafted a wideout in the first round since 2002. Do you think that's the move for them at pick 23?
I don't, unless perhaps Golden was there or, God willing, Ted McMillan, then I would run in the pick. But if that doesn't happen, I would be surprised if they took a receiver. I really like Egbuka, who Mel Kiper assigned to them. I just think he's a little bit too similar to receivers already on their roster. Right. Romeo Doubs, Jaden Reed give you, that slot production, jet sweeps, work out of the backfield even. They need what Bill described, which is speed on the outside, and I'm not sure that will be available for them there. They also have other needs, corner, edge, and of course, as you just discussed, a history of not drafting receivers in the first round. So I would actually be kind of surprised if they changed up their tendencies this year just based on the actual receivers in the draft.
Yeah, listen, I agree with Mina. I think, the pick that Mel Kiper has, the receiver is too similar to the guys they already have on the roster. You need someone who has break. I think you need someone who can create those explosive type plays in the passing game, the speed to get on top of some of these DBs that we see in the National Football League. So I'm not thrilled with this spin. I hate to disagree with Mel Kiper because he's the GOAT at this, but I just think that receiver is too similar to what they have on their roster.
Yeah, and those receivers might be changing in the years to come. Christian Watson, who's currently out with a torn ACL he suffered in January, is going to be a free agent after this season. So is Romeo Doubs. Jaden Reed is a free agent after next season. I know these guys have been young and promising for a long time. The Packers are going to have to make some tough decisions soon about who they're going to pay out of this group, and that might lead them to draft another guy to replace some of those players who might leave in free agency.
Yeah, they haven't even had a 1,000-yard receiver since Devontae had that season in 2021 when Aaron Rodgers was MVP. Now, in case you missed it, something about another receiver that we found kind of funny. As you know, the Bengals recently paid their 2-star wideouts, T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. Well, Higgins was asked what he would do with his new paycheck.
So you guys get this new money, this big money. Is there anything, Jamar T, that you always wanted to buy that you now need?
I'm putting a fish tank in my wall. Yeah,
What?
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. I gotta sit on that.
I think Jamar was a little surprised by that. Hey, D. Woody, what did you do with your big payday? What did you buy?
I actually did that. I did in my home. I got like an aquarium. So I built a home and put an aquarium inside of it. So it's very relaxing, especially for the kids. So yeah.
You actually did that. I mean, it wasn't a Lambo. It wasn't anything else. It was. How much does a big fish aquarium cost, by the way? Just curious.
A lot. Like a lot. And I spent like $250,000 on it.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah.
I guess it's worth it to just sit and watch those fish and be relaxed.
Wow. Fish tank.
I know, right? That is wild. Was not expecting that.
Wrong business.
Okay.
I could come to an NFL franchise and change the program.
Sanders, end zone, caught!
If that's not what you're trying to do, don't get me.
Oh, he hit him with the sauce. Touchdown.
I'm the most guaranteed person you can take.
The Big 12 Conference is holding its Pro Day, which actually lasts 3 days, to help give their prospects an extra look with NFL scouts. Now, he's not working out, but he is in attendance. Colorado quarterback Shedeur Sanders, and here he was earlier today on what he would bring in terms of turning around a team.
Well, as I know the recipe of it. I was heavily involved I was almost a GM for the both of the teams because I knew what pieces I wanted, and when we got to Colorado, I already I would say was stable in the college area to where I knew exactly what I wanted. It wasn't what just coach saying these are the guys we're going to get. It was me actually going out there, getting those guys, knowing what receivers are going to fit my eye.
Mel Kiper Jr. has Shedeur Sanders landing on the Giants with the number 3 pick in the draft in his latest mock, and he has the Browns actually skipping over a quarterback for star defensive end Abdul Carter. So, Mina, listen, here's the deal with Cleveland. We know Deshaun Watson is going to be out for a significant amount of time. Obviously, they did trade for Kenny Pickett last week, but do you think they should jump on Sanders if he's right there at number 2?
I think it makes sense for Cleveland to take him, and I have kind of come around on this over the last few weeks as I've thought more about what sort of offense is well suited for Sanders in the NFL. I actually think looks a lot like the kind of offense that Kevin Stefanski wants to run in Cleveland, that he really hasn't been able to run, something that I thought Sanders showed he could do at Colorado. It seemed to me like that would be a good marriage between play caller and quarterback. So I would definitely consider it if I was Cleveland because I do think the fit is there.
In addition to the schematic fit you mentioned, Mina, there's also the financial fit here, the ability to get a quarterback on a rookie deal, something that we know is extremely valuable, even if you think Shedeur Sanders is going to be an average NFL quarterback. Right now, the top 14 average salaries in the NFL are all quarterbacks. Guys like, Derek Carr, Sam Darnold, low-end starters at quarterback in the NFL, making about as much as superstar receivers, your Justin Jeffersons, even your Jamar Chases almost. And so that's an opportunity here to get that kind of player. And I know that there's questions about Sanders, but none of these guys are sure things. Go back to 2020. The second and third overall picks in the draft were an edge rusher in Chase Young and a cornerback in Jeff Okudah, just like you're expecting maybe Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter here. Those teams did not get a sure thing, and they passed up on Justin Herbert and Tua Tagovailoa, 2 extremely valuable quarterbacks. So I know there's questions about him, but there's questions about these other guys as well.
Yeah, listen, guys, I agree. I think and I think, Bill, you hit it right on the head. The opportunity to get a quarterback on a rookie deal. This team is not going anywhere with that Deshaun Watson contract. And so you got to have the opportunity to start replenishing and get a quarterback on a rookie deal so you can really add pieces. It's not about this year. It's about, future years for the Cleveland Browns. So the opportunity to get a quarterback, a pocket passer, we know that, Kevin Stefanski has really thrived with a lot of pocket passing quarterbacks, So for me, I think schematically it makes a lot of sense for what Cleveland wants to do offensively, but more importantly, just having that rookie deal and giving Cleveland the opportunity to start hitting the reset button, not only now, but moving forward in the future.
Yeah, listen, they pay Myles Garrett, and you got to figure there'd be so much excitement and juice coming to the team. A lot of personality as well with Shedeur Sanders. I think it would be pretty exciting for Cleveland. All right, there's still some free agents out there. We need to talk about them. And let's start with wideout Amari Cooper. He showed he's got a lot in the tank last season when he joined Buffalo. Bill, where are the best landing spots for the 30-year-old Cooper?
I like a couple of reunions here. The Patriots, I think we're going to talk about for every wide receiver, but I would throw the Raiders out there as a team that needs that X-receiver across from Trey Tucker and Jacoby Myers. And then why not talk about the Dallas Cowboys? They have not been able to replace Amari Cooper since he left. They tried with Michael Gallup, didn't work out. Trade for Brandon Cooks, didn't work out. They need that piece on the outside, that big body to kind of take away teams focusing on CeeDee Lamb. If you double CeeDee Lamb, there's no one there who can really beat man coverage consistently. Amari Cooper can do that. We're only 14 games removed from him going for 265 yards against the Texans on Christmas Eve in 2023.
Wow, I wonder if they bring him back, Mina. Do you like any of these teams as a fit for him?
I do like the idea of the Cowboys because there is such a need there, and Amari Cooper maybe, isn't quite the receiver that he was at his peak, but he's still a very experienced and detail-oriented route runner. So much so, I think his nickname, he called himself the route runner at one point, and I think he complements well with CeeDee Lamb. I also think, though, that shouldn't stop the Cowboys from taking a receiver, potentially with the 12th overall pick. Imagine going from what we saw last year to having Lamb, Cooper, and say a Matthew Golden taking the top off the defense. That would make things a lot more exciting in Dallas next year.
Definitely. Still got to take care of that running game, though, right? Just saying. All right, on the other side of the ball, teams are always looking for edge rushing help. We know that. How about 32-year-old Matthew Judon? He's available, standing by the phone, one season in Atlanta. Bill, who should be calling?
It's like any team that saw what the Eagles did in the Super Bowl, which should be about 32 of the NFL teams. Judon is a valuable edge rusher and didn't really find his landing spot in Atlanta last year. But before that, really impactful with the Patriots. Go back to the start of 2021 and to the point where he got hurt in 2023. He was 4th in the NFL in sacks over that stretch, 9th in pressures. And again, sort of like Amari Cooper, maybe not your number 1 guy anymore, but as a number 2, I think Commanders and I think the Chiefs and the Bengals as well. 3 teams that can be interested in Matt Judon.
Woody, any of these teams stand out to you that you think should add Judon?
Yeah, listen, I think the Cincinnati Bengals make a lot of sense. When you pay in all that money to the quarterback and 2 wide receivers, you got to add something on the other side of the ball. I mean, the Bengals were just atrocious on the defense side of the ball. The big question is, will they be able to keep Trey Hendrickson? I know they're still trying to figure things out there, but you're going to need another pass rusher, and Matthew Judon is a guy. He's a very accomplished guy. Add him to that defense.
Yep, that defense needs a lot of help. Let's just say that. Signing Hendrickson, maybe first priority.